Hello friends, welcome back to my garden. I'm in zone 6A and it's early in July currently. I was just inspecting my broccolini that I have planted in my garden bed, and it's been infested with cabbage bugs. So I've been removing those, squishing those, but I fear I might be losing the war. I noticed some of the cabbage bugs in my grow bags the other day, and I removed them. Those worms were a lot bigger and actually just fed them to the chickens. These guys are tiny. I just noticed the damage this week, actually this morning, so I'm not feeling great that it's really infested. I did buy some netting on Amazon that I'm hoping to cover and maybe prevent further damage after I pick everything off. But these guys are so small that it makes it really difficult. You have to come out here multiple times a day and kind of inspect it. You always are missing something. But yeah, these guys are like too small to even feed to the chickens, so I kind of just hand picking them off and squishing them, even though I definitely hate to do that. Last week I pulled all my garlic from my beds, so I amended them, added some more fertilizer, and I planted beans where the garlic was, so I'm just waiting for those to sprout. I've been trying to keep the soil moist for that. And then I have some extra marigolds that I'm gonna plant. They really need to be planted there. You can see they're kind of outgrowing their current containers. I have these seed cell trays from Epic Gardening. But honestly, like Bootstrap Farmer too, you can get them. I like them. They're super reusable, and it's not just wasting plastic every season. But I am going to plant some marigolds in with my broccolini to see if that does anything. I doubt it will. I think I'll be hand picking those, but having some extra marigolds won't hurt. It also may bring some pollinators to my garden up here, which I'm always lacking. But yeah, I think I got all the cabbage bugs for now. I'll have to come back out later and double check for more, since, like I said, they are so small. They're insanely hard to see. Like, you need a little bug magnifying glass out here. My mom actually is 10 minutes away from me, and she noticed cabbage worms on her broccoli too, so I think that's just the new reality in my zone. I haven't had this pest before this year, so that's kind of disheartening, but we'll learn to live with it and manage it the best we can. I don't like to spray pesticides or anything on my garden, so hand picking is the way to go for me, and covering them up and trying to prevent them the best I can. But while I'm in here, I'll just do a little weeding too that I've neglected. And I can show you the garden trays I was mentioning. So these are the 16 cell from Epic Gardening. I do really like them to start like little seeds, but you can see they're definitely root bound. I do like that they air prune themselves with these kind of trays, but it's time to get those in the ground somewhere. And then the other thing I'm going to plant today are my bok choy. I started these a few weeks ago, and these need to go in the ground, so I'm going to plant them in a bed that I had garlic in. I had amended the soil, so we're going to try it out. It may be a little late in the season to plant these, but I figure it's worth a try. Now you can see these 6-cell trays are pretty nice. Your finger actually can fit in there and pop out the plants, whereas the 16-cell, they're pretty small, so my finger can't fit in those. I can show you the bok choy. You can see their roots kind of growing all around. I guess this is kind of the alternative to seed blocking, which I've never been successful with. I think I thrive more with containers to withhold all the contents, so. Now, one thing you're probably noticing about me is I don't have gardening gloves on. I don't have a lot of feeling in my fingers. I was actually diagnosed with MS way back in college many moons ago. So when I was diagnosed, I had lost the ability to feel anything on my right side. That mostly returned except my fingers. And then 3 weeks after that, I'd actually lost the ability to walk and talk and swallow. So luckily everything has returned in that way. So I'm pretty much your average human that can do all the things most people can do. I'm very grateful for. But yeah, if you notice no gloves, with gloves on, I can't feel really anything. It takes away any of the feeling I have, so it's hard to tell what's happening in the dirt or with plants. So I do better with no gloves on. Now in this 4-cell, I had started a few sunflowers, but didn't have much luck. So I just have one that I'm going to transplant today. I think I'm going to plant it in the far bed back there. I have peas that definitely did not survive the heat last week. They are turning yellow, so I think I'm just going to wait for those to dry out completely and save the seeds for next year. think it's supposed to rain today, but I am going to water in those plants really quick. Okay, that's it for that bed. I think now I'm going to plug in the rest of my marigolds all around the garden. So these are my broccolini that also got a bit eaten up. These ones are actually doing better than the one in the garden bed, so I must have cut these ones faster than the other ones. These ones had some really big worms, which I see one right now. So, I don't know if you can see that, but there's like those little green cabbage worms. So when the chickens are out and about, I will feed them to the chickens. Otherwise, it just gets squashed. Kind of gross, but it is what it is. But I guess if you have any organic ideas on how to help prevent these kind of pests, I'm all ears. I'm going to plant some marigolds in this area to see if that helps. I doubt it will, but it's the only thing I have right now that can be planted. I'm starting to actually have some marigolds popping up in here. The soil is super compacted in this area. It's definitely hard to be a plant in here. So maybe they won't go in here. Should probably get my shovel. My handy shovel now, so I'll try again. Even with the shovel, the soil's so compacted because it gets really bogged down here. But honestly, marigolds are like one of those things that can kind of go anywhere. They pop up in the weirdest places. Like I was saying, like these cells are so small on the back that my finger doesn't fit. It barely fits. Well, I guess my pinky fits. You can use that. Pop it out. But you can see they're like super root bound. But I'll just plug one in here. It may take off, it may not. It's okay. I think I kind of practice chaos gardening, right? Like anything goes. It will work, it may not work. That's okay. It's all trial and error. We're not trying to be perfect. It's all a learning process. My first year gardening, I had like absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had a few containers at my old apartment. I popped in some beans. I think I had a tomato. I planted so much in like 3 pots. Nothing did well. What a surprise, right? Like everything was overcrowded. But it was something to do. And moving here, like I said, we rent. So it's trying to make things that are semi-movable, not doing too much damage to what's here. but trying to make it somewhere where it's fun to be out here and, you know, in this tomato jungle, as you see behind me, makes it fun to come outside. But I figured in here I was gonna plant a few marigolds. This is the contraption my husband built. I supervised. Thinking I have a few dead spaces in here. But the nice thing is this area gets watered with the drip lines, which means little flowers that I plant will actually see some water. Really, I just like adding marigolds wherever I want a few extra pollinators, right? Those are so hard to bring to your garden. So I want to make sure there's an abundant amount of flowers around for them to get into. I have a whole tray of honeyworts to plant all around too, which I didn't quite think through when I planted them, where they're going to go, but that'll be a mission for another day. It's still super humid outside, so any garden work is still pretty exhausting. Now, I had covered my sunflowers this year with baskets that I had in the house. I did not buy anything special for this. And it actually helped. My sunflowers did not get eaten immediately by squirrels or little animals or destroyed by the chickens. So I think at this point, they're pretty hardy, which is nice to see. This one was leaning a little bit, so I added a stake. I don't know if it really needs it, but we'll leave it there. And then I have a bunch of weeds in here, but like this area is hard because the chickens like to walk through it, so whatever I plant is most likely going to be destroyed by chicken feet, and they're scratching for bugs, so I try not to go too hard in this area. If I can keep them on my cucumbers, that works for me, but it's kind of like a mess of weeds back here, which honestly maybe is for another day. It looks like we have a special guest today on video. This is Gus. This is our little catio that we have. We wanted a way for our cats to be able to come outside. Gus is about 4 years old, and he likes when it's hot and humid outside, so this is like the perfect temperature for him. But he likes to hang out here, take his afternoon naps, and also watch all the neighborhood happenings when it gets dark outside. He's had a rough few days with the fireworks. He's not a firework cat, but it's good to see him out here. He's definitely a little weird, but like most cats are, they're kind of weird. I think like in all these weird little spaces where I don't have anything happening is where I'm going to try to plug in some extra marigolds. I had planted a bunch of seeds everywhere, but it got so dry that it's hard to keep everything moist, so you just scatter seeds. Yeah, the cabbage worms. I'm hoping I don't lose the battle on these. Like I said, I have some nets coming this afternoon. that I'll put over everything. I don't know if the damage is too far gone, but man, those worms, they move quickly. I had noticed the damage a little while ago, and it's crazy how quick they can eat everything for being such a small little worm. But the goal is to get them early. Last year, my mom had huge broccolini. Super exciting. She harvested actual broccolini sprouts, the broccolini stems, and brought them inside, boiled them, and the bugs that came out of those broccolini were atrocious. Worms everywhere, which added protein, I guess, if that's your thing. But for her, it was pretty horrifying. The eggs they leave behind are super gross, so you just want to try to get them as early as possible. Luckily, these ones are doing a little bit better today, but man, the worms are so small. But what I didn't know is that it's actually caused by like a white moth, which I'm so used to thinking like white moths are harmless outside. Turns out they're not. So definitely something to look out for if you're growing broccolini in the area. I think broccolini, broccoli, cabbage, any kind of like earthy vegetable they seem to target, and they are so gross. So if you can get a head start on getting them, that's always good. The thing to look for is your leaves will have little holes in them that at first you can't really figure out why, because when you look at the plant you don't see anything on it, but then you'll come out one day and you'll see some really big green worms. They blend in really well on the broccolini. I almost missed them. Good source of protein for the chickens, but not what I want to see on my plants. But other than that, that concludes my garden update for today. It was great hanging out with you, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.